Hi class, today we're going to be talking about personality in this mini lecture that I'm going to give you. Personality refers to a distinctive pattern of behaviors, mannerisms, thoughts, motives, and emotions that characterize an individual over time and across similar situations. For a very long time, Freud's psychoanalytic theory was the dominant approach to explaining personality differences. For better or worse, we live in a world profoundly impacted by Freud. He was known for developing an encompassing theory of the mind, which he spent decades working on. And the first big idea he came up with was unconscious motivation. This involves rejecting the idea or claim that you know what and why you're doing what you're doing. He believes there are reasons we do everything, desires and motivations, that govern behavior you're not aware of. So Freud says with our personality, there is the conscious, the things that we're aware of, the preconscious, things we can be aware of if we think of them, and the unconscious, the deep hidden reservoir that holds the true us, all of our desires and fears. This is what Freud really honed in on. Freud's concept of personality involved three components. These three processes go on in your head, and they're all in conflict. There's the id, the ego, and the superego. We're going to look at these more in depth. The id is present at birth, and basically when you think of a baby, they are all id, meaning all they want is what they want. They want to eat, drink, sleep, poop, get warm, get cool, right when they want it. There's no waiting. It works on what's called the pleasure principle. Okay? The goal is to avoid pain and receive instant gratification. Unfortunately, life doesn't always work like that. And if you're all id all the time, you may not be a very popular person. A set of reactions that help you deal with not getting what you want all the time, or figuring out how to suppress your desires, is called the ego. It's also known as the self, and it works on the reality principle. It works by trying to help you figure out your way through the world, how to satisfy your pleasures, or in some cases, give them up. Some desires are inappropriate, some actions are wrong, and you get punished for them. This is where the superego comes into play. The superego is the little angel sitting on your shoulder telling you when things are wrong. It develops last of the three stages after about the age of 5. It's our conscience, basically what we think is right or wrong. You might say our moral compass. And the ego often mediates between the id, who wants everything, and the superego, who is all about kind of being right, and the angel on our shoulder is what we call it. So, Freud described ways to keep the id from getting into our consciousness. These are called defense mechanisms. Because the ego has a pretty important job, and that's to protect you from threatening thoughts in your mind. And it does that by way of these defense mechanisms. Oftentimes, you don't even know that they're happening, but they do happen. The first that we're going to talk about is repression. Repression occurs when a person consistently pushes away a particularly painful or disturbing thought, a memory, or a desire in an attempt to keep their mind more pleasurable and in a less anxious state. So when asked about an ex, you might say, "Who? I haven't thought about her in so long." The next is denial. Denial is pretty basic, self-explanatory. Most people know what denial is. Not accepting the truth, because it could threaten your ego. So in the example of the boyfriend and girlfriend, you might still think you and your ex are going to get back together. You don't want to admit that the relationship is over. The next defense mechanism we're going to talk about is displacement. Displacement is when you have certain shameful thoughts or desires and you refocus them more appropriately. So a boy who is bullied by his father may hate his father and may want to hurt him. This is a very shameful and difficult thought, wanting to hurt someone you care about. So instead, the boy might kick the dog because that's a more acceptable target. Projection. If you have certain impulses that you're uncomfortable with, so rather than own them yourself, you project them onto somebody else. Well, I'm not a homophobe. You're the one that doesn't like gay people. In the example of the boyfriend-girlfriend, feeling like your ex still cares about you and is always trying to get back to you. They're the ones that want me. Reaction formation is the tendency to act in a manner opposite of one's true feelings. So this is kind of like the Cootie stage in Freud's development, where you have boys that like a girl and so they hit her, claiming that you hate your ex when really down deep you still feel love. Regression is returning to an earlier stage of development, and you actually see this in children and teenagers quite a bit. In times of stress and trauma, they'll act younger. They might cry, they might suck their thumb, seek out a blanket, or throw a temper tantrum. Rationalization is when you do or think something bad, you rationalize it. It gives you a more socially acceptable explanation. A parent who enjoys smacking their kid around might say, I enjoy smacking my kid. They won't say that. They'll say, it's for their own good. I'm being a good parent by doing this. So in the girlfriend-boyfriend scenario, I'll find somebody better. It'll be great, and I don't have to worry about it. Rationalizing why you didn't get a good grade on the test. The teacher, was difficult. She tests hard. It's her fault. So you're rationalizing your behavior. I really didn't want to go to Princeton anyways. Sublimation, the last one, it's the transformation of unwanted impulses into something less harmful. So maybe you have an anger problem, and to channel that anger, instead of punching your neighbors, you start getting really intense into a hobby, whether it's playing a guitar, muscle building, working out, boxing. So it's channeling your frustration into a more healthy, appropriate goal. The key notion of psychoanalysis, and Freud is that your problems actually reflect something deeper going on with you. Freud would say you're hiding something from yourself, and once you know what's going on at a deeper level, your problems will go away. So it's all about kind of getting to know yourself and what is really going on down deep. That's Freud's notion, the key to psychoanalysis and knowing yourself. I hope you enjoyed this mini lecture. Have a great day.